We're back. So today we're going to talk about twin flames and how to keep the union strong and not have so much conflict during times of drama, adversity, conflict, disagreements, um, things that are going on in the world, things that are going on in the family, things that are going on in general that affect your life.
Yeah.
It's interesting how life really throws some curveballs and you don't think you're going to be affected, but it eventually creeps up and gets you.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're in life struggles, how it seems like you want to nitpick and you want to take it out on someone.
Man.
And the person that you take it out on is usually the one you're closest to. In our case, we're together all the time.
Yeah.
So you're just easiest. You're the easy target.
Right.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you're not a moving target.
I move. Doesn't mean I'm not still hit on as the target.
No, but you know what I'm saying.
I know exactly what you're saying.
You're not going anywhere. So I know that you are the one that will end up taking the brunt of the how I'm feeling.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And other people out there who are attempting to be in union and stay in union, or even trying to get there. How do we rise above the adversity and the drama and the turmoil and the conflicts, and not
explosions,
and not tear each other down?
Right. Well, there is no easy way, but just as anything, life imitates nature. Nature doesn't imitate life. So, you kind of have to understand that there's always going to be the nature of something that is going to be a storm that either is going to demolish everything or restart everything. And sometimes, that includes how you go through the cycles of birth and death and so on and so forth, which is not to be confused with life. So I take a lot of those things, when those things happen and we're going through things. Being that we both, created root camp, you created it, and we kind of understand some things that we go through and had seen all kinds of different things and experienced all kinds of different things, and how we got through that probably isn't as good as we get through it now. Probably not even close. But we go through that, and I think, of course, there's a lot of yelling and screaming on your part, and on my part, there's a lot of trying to just remain calm.
What?
No, I get there too. So then we find we have to find a common ground. The common ground is not an easy ground to find, because
not true.
Common ground sometimes is going to be some person's view. It's going to either be your viewpoint or my viewpoint, but the viewpoint is always going to ultimately clash, because when you want to be right about your viewpoint and I want to be right about my viewpoint, that causes so much turbulence and doesn't really help us through it. So just listening, I think, you've been really, this has been the year of you teaching me how to listen, and you've done extremely well as a teacher. And I still find that when I'm listening, I have to just listen, and I've practiced listening with my body before, instead of just listening and then hearing something in my head, then it kind of cuts out everything else you're probably even trying to say to me. And that's been difficult, because that really reflects on how I am to myself, let alone how I am to you. But I started to really pay attention to that, because then I could hear, it's like now when I'm listening to you, I can hear the voice in my head. And I'm like, she's not finished. I mean, you're being rude right now. I mean, I can feel like I say that on the inside. And then I may ask you to repeat something. And then I can tell that that's caused a little bit. But sometimes it's hard to stop doing that when you've done that for so long.
And then what happens, though, is once that happens and we stuff it, we stuff what our minds are saying. I think that's where the conflict starts, because we're stuffing all this that our mind's telling us.
Mm-hmm.
And then it doesn't go away. It doesn't go away. I mean, we can calm our minds, right? And identify, like you said, we can identify that there's an issue. We can identify that our minds are saying something that we don't necessarily feel. And so we stuff it, but then it doesn't go away.
No, and the reason it won't go away is because you abandon yourself.
Right.
And the more times than not, the more you abandon yourself and point and say the other person made you do it, it's like at some point it's going to come across to that other person. You don't realize that you are abandoning yourself when you abandon your emotions, when you abandon your thoughts, and then you shut yourself down. Some people like to call that boundaries. Some people like to call that protection. But literally, it's just called what it is. It's called abandonment. And it's really simple to abandon yourself in that way, because we're just all doing it.
I feel like where conflict starts is you have the way you're feeling, the way I'm feeling, and then we try to get those together, and they're both true and real in us, but so false to the other person.
Yes.
Because no, I'm not thinking that at all. So we do this thing. If for those of you who watch This Is Us fans.
Been very similar this whole time. We just didn't have a name for it.
I guess they called it worst case scenario. So, it's easier, especially in communication, when, okay, this thing's going down, it's happening. What are your thoughts?
Worst case scenario.
Worst case scenario.
I tell you how I feel. Then you blow up and we're in conflict for a day or two. The worst case scenario. The worst case scenario is I'm sleeping on the couch. Worst case scenario is, you want me out. The worst case, I can tell you, I go through the list, and then you're like, oh shit, what are you about to say? But it literally, it does relieve some stress, because the other person's like, okay, I can figure out how I should prepare for whatever could be the worst case versus what shouldn't be the worst case. You know what I mean?
And then I can come back and say, worst case scenario is you're not going to like what I have to say or how I'm feeling, and you're just going to get up and storm off, or you're going to raise your voice and yell and scream, and we're going to get in a big conflict, and you're going to walk out.
So for you, worst case scenario is always rejection.
Always.
And for me, worst case scenario is always abandonment.
It always is, because it can be something as easy as, I knew I need to go down there and clean the storage room, and there's a lot there, you know what I mean, going through my mind, and it has nothing to do with you, right? It just has everything to do with, an organization plan that's going on in my mind. What am I going to do with some things? And it's, time to purge some things out of here, all those kinds of things. And, I'm avoiding bringing this up to you that I want to get this done because it's on my mind. Worst case scenario, you're going to blow up and say you don't want to do anything. You don't want to be a part of this. That room's fine. You're always doing too much. You're never relaxing, and it's going to be in conflict, and you're going to end up walking out. It's the same thing every time.
Yeah, but in me, when you said you want to think, I'm thinking, okay, I'll help move everything out, but I know I'm not allowed to help put anything back in, because I already know how you would feel about my organizational skills. So it's almost like I know when to draw a line.
Right.
But you may take that as, oh, you just don't want to do it.
Abandonment.
You just don't want to do
rejection,
it. I can tell you, I want to do it, but I know as soon as I go to do something and I see this look that goes, then I'm like, okay, I'm in the way now. I'm not really helping you at all. I'm actually getting under you. It's like you like things done a certain way.
Right.
And I'm kind of like, things are just going to be as they are. So when you are doing those things, I'm kind of looking like, okay, well, you're going to be in that, and I'm going to be, things can go however they go. I'm okay with the nature of it. So I kind of try to be helpful as the nature, but not be the dictator of what the nature's about to do. Does that make sense?
It makes sense. I think the important thing is to get it out, like what the thought process is. On any and every situation, what the thought process is.
I think that's probably what our biggest hurdle was in this, was my expectations of how you would handle things.
Yeah.
Because we do that. We put an expectation of, okay, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to listen to you, but then I get to have my say. So I expect that you're going to let me have my say, when literally you probably don't need it. It shouldn't probably come out at that time. You just need the space. Mm-hmm. So I started learning how to be empty, because being empty seems to be a very beautiful thing. See, emptiness is the way people think. It sounds like a bad thing, but emptiness means space. Mm-hmm. It means that there's space for things to be in there. There's things for you to actually see what's going in there. There's things for you to actually look at and observe, and not have any kind of attachment to it.
Right.
So when I'm empty, I'm usually in a really good space. And it's really interesting, because every time I seem to be empty, you go, what are you thinking about? And I'm thinking about just random cookie cutter shit. And he was just like, how did you really? And I'm like, I think that's where I find my zen.
It's very interesting. It happens a lot. We'll be driving down the road and you'll have that look on your face, like you're in deep thought. And I'm like, okay, what are you thinking? And you'll say, I can't decide whether to get the dog's regular rawhide or this other stuff. Because the rawhide's not supposed to be so good for him. So
I want the stuff that's digestible.
But this stuff makes a mess on the carpet. So when really you're not thinking about the meaning of life at all, right? Which is the assumption always, right? Everybody's thinking that you should be contemplating our union, our relationship, judging what my hair looked like today. Did I wear too much makeup? Should my eyebrows be plucked? Am I getting to the point of I'm growing out of my clothes? That, in my mind, these are your thoughts, and you're thinking about dog treats.
Yeah. See how even just listening to you, I feel rejected for being in a space that I considered that, that should require some really deep thought.
Right.
In your world, that's not serious deep thought. But to me, everything in my life is it has its space, but then I have the space where I should go and I should empty it. Mm-hmm. And emptiness, the art of emptiness, the experience of emptiness, seems to make me focus on the present moment more than anything else. Mm-hmm. Because you can't really change anything ever.
Right.
So it's almost like, how do I find space to be with myself and not suffer, not hurt, so I can think about simple things, and I can think about them in a deep way and feel free in it, because I can be empty in it. I don't have to. We're always walking around full. Mm-hmm. And sometimes that full causes so much suffering, causes so much hurt. I mean, recently going through some of, my own personal root camps, I was full and I was suffering. And I was like, no, I got to get back to empty. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know how to do it, because I was so focused on every little aspect of every little thing that was showing up as part of things that have always been there. And my acceptance of it didn't let me get to the space of empty. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to have to just accept this is what I'm going to have to be in this, and be full until I can realize that it can be empty again. And, you get into that full space, and it's hard to be vulnerable. It's hard to be open. It's hard to be, talk about things that are really important. And then I realized that if I just get back to emptiness, I'll be able to find that space to really kind of look at things in a very clear lens, and feel okay, accepting responsibility, accepting failure, accepting how how things were, how things looked. And I like my moments of emptiness. My moments of emptiness are probably the best. And it didn't happen until our connection. I didn't understand how powerful and how you could be in the space of emptiness. And actually, a majority of the time, I think when we're listening to a lot of, when I'm listening to you, I'll stay in the empty space because I want to absorb what you're saying and look at it and not take it like you're attacking me or take it like you're trying to tell. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I want to listen, and I want to listen so you can release. I don't want to listen so you can suffer.
Right.
And emptiness seems to be the best way to do that between us. I mean, it works. It does help in our connection, and it's brought us to be able to be together day in and day out. And I believe you've developed a way to do it sometimes too.
It's interesting when you are able to get it all out, whether it's true or not, or whether it feels right saying or not, or whether you have fear saying it or not. Right? It feels cleansing, and it feels better if I can just get dog hair.
No.
Oh.
Yeah, Gemma.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
She lives on me. I wear black. I have a yellow dog. What do you?
I wear yellow.
We have a black dog. It's always yin and yang with us.
Why did you point me and say black dog?
Because you have a yellow sweater on. His black hair is going to show up on that. Racist. Anyway.
Mine being a black dog.
So listen. Here's an interesting concept, right? It really is. If you can find it in your union or even in your relationship to just be in that empty space and listen. For example, right? Here's what I need to get off my chest, right? You leave the dog door closed when it doesn't need to be closed. It annoys the shit out of me. We got to get this done. You haven't done anything about it. I've been the one keeping up with this and keeping up with that. You haven't had to empty the dishwasher. You haven't had to mess with the laundry. You haven't had to do anything because I've taken it all on myself. The cars didn't get washed. The lawn didn't get mowed. All this is piling up on me that I'm going to have to end up doing this all by myself. You're not helping. You're just slacking. You're not doing anything. I need help around here. The babies are screaming. The dogs are barking. It's just getting too much for me without your help. And I could go on literally for like an hour just saying how I feel. I feel like you rejected me at this time. I feel like you rejected me at that time. You abandoned me at this time. I was going to come back to bed today, and you got up, and for 2 times now you got up, kind of took my little plan of coming back to bed away. So so much stuff would be, you know what I mean, coming out here. I feel like you're rejecting me. You haven't really been around. You haven't really touched me that much. You go to work, you come home, you lay on the couch, you drink beer, you watch TV. I mean, so many, you know what I mean, all these things. And instead of a partner saying, stop, no, that's a lie, I'm not doing it, and interrupting everything that hurts, everything that's not true.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Just get it all out. Purge it. And then respond. It's kind of like when you're at a show or at a sitcom or whatever, and they're like, please, or at an award show, please hold your applause till the final thing.
Yeah.
Right? Where you want to clap for every kid. Right? But they're like a graduation ceremony or whatever, where they want you to hold your applause for at the end, and you're really wanting to get it out. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's for you to just be able to sit and listen to me berate you or tell you what you're not doing for an hour or an hour and a half, or sometimes even 2 hours, is more beneficial to me than if we're arguing back and forth for those 2 hours on how you are debunking those things. And I have done this, and I have done that. And was you not there when I did this, or was you not there when I did that, or don't you remember when I did this? And all those things just keep adding fuel to where if one partner can just let it all out, lay it there, and then the other person absorb how that person's feeling, be like, okay, I'm sorry you feel that way. Here's what I have to say about that. And if you feel that I haven't been doing enough, I'm sorry, right, that you feel that way. I don't feel that way. I feel like I really have been putting forth an effort. I feel like I have. You just haven't been around when I was emptying the dishwasher, or when I was taking the trash out, or when I was mowing the grass. You wasn't there, you know what I mean, when I was feeding the dogs, or feeding the cats, or feeding the cows or the horses or whatever you have. You know what I mean? I mean, it's you weren't there when I was doing these things, so you didn't see them. So you didn't. So you're feeling like all this is piled on you, and I'm really right here.
Yeah.
Right? I'm really right here to help you. And when I walked out and talked to the person on the phone, it wasn't because I was hiding a conversation or because I didn't want you to hear my conversation. It's because the room was loud and the dogs were barking, and I really needed to have a conversation that was uninterrupted.
Right.
Right? And then you get the opportunity to lay it all out too, right? Well, I feel like you're a little obsessive, and you're expecting too much, and we're only human, and we got so much to do, all this kind of stuff, and the other person have that same listening technique where they're just listening, even though it doesn't feel good, and they want to say something to debunk what they're saying. No, don't you remember I did the laundry yesterday, right? You just wasn't paying attention. Instead of interrupting, let the other person do the purge too. It really saves days of arguing.
But interruption is rejection. Interruption is rejection.
Yeah.
And what I noticed was, no, I shouldn't go into all the things I'm doing when you're getting all of that out, because you know what I realized that does is make you feel like you didn't hear anything. I didn't hear anything you were saying.
Right.
So I have to realize that I have to stop, acknowledge that this was your view, this was your experience, and not take it as rejection, but take it as time to actually listen to you, so you stop feeling rejected.
Right.
And that's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard because when you're seeing that kind of energy coming at you, you want to tell yourself that you're not responsible for that. You want to tell yourself that this, you start saying bad things to yourself, and then now you've got to attack the other person. And it's not the way that that's supposed to happen. But it does, and it happens more times than not. So when I'm when I'm listening to you, and then I can hear my mind going, well, no, wait a minute, I was doing this and I was doing that. I'm like, shh, this isn't about you right now. You need to just listen, because we're getting to learn a new viewpoint. And I think that drives you nuts, because sometimes it's been so many times where we've had conflict based in that kind of area.
Right.
But now I'm in a space where I'm like, I can't cause you conflict in this area, because I need to really know what your view is. If I'm connected to you, I have to understand I have more than just my view.
Right. Right.
Right. I got and when I'm not listening to that view, I'm really not even listening to myself. It really is a stronger form of unconsciousness. My spiritual experience in this connection is my spiritual path, my spiritual way of being. And the more I've realized that it could have been closed, I've realized that it just needs to be open. And I need to be open to what you experience as much as I would want you to be open to mine. So if I'm going to listen to you, I'm going to really listen to you. And if you noticed, I've come a long way.
I'm really feeling pulled to tell them the sock story, because it's an amazing it's an amazing analogy of exactly how
what I'm saying.
It fits right in with what you're saying.
And you're saying, yeah.
Right. So this is real, folks. This is real. Straight out of the Patterson. Not even gonna lie. It was real. That happened.
The shit that twin flames go through.
Down. The shit that we go through. So, or just like everybody else, we have one of those alien dryers that eats socks. It's fine. It happens, right? So, I'm sure we posted the other sock story about Lee's socks, and I won't wear Lee's socks because he was at one point always complaining that he didn't have socks, and I would look down on my feet and I would have a pair of his socks on, or one of my kids would have a pair of his socks on, and I felt bad. So I had made an internal pact not to wear socks. Now listen. Okay, this is where it gets.
And I loved wearing my socks, by the way.
This is where it gets.
That was when everybody else.
The light just changed just now. Anyway, so here's the deal. So even where Cameron's involved, like if I would mate all the socks in there, he'd probably have 50 pair, and I need to do that. But anyway, we were out and about, and we had to take, Cameron had a hockey game, and I realized that he didn't have any socks. So we were out, and we were in a store, and I was looking at something, and I had Lee and Cameron go pick out some socks. This is in the phase where I was just, still am sometimes, not gonna lie. A lot of times when Lee will do something and I have a little bit of an issue with it, like he'll swear the milk's on the right-hand side of the store, and I know it's on the left-hand side of the store. I'm not going to argue with him. I'm going to let him figure it out himself. No, Sherry, it's over here. Okay, I know the milk's on the left-hand side of the store. I know it is. But have a party. Go. And next thing you know, here he comes. Milk's not over there. Okay, well, I you know what I mean? I want to say, well, if you would have listened to me in the first place, I would have told you the milk was on the left-hand side of the store.
Isn't that always fun?
Nevertheless, so they come to me and they have a pair of package of black ankle socks. I had an issue with that because I wear black ankle socks. It's the only thing like I'll wear is black ankle socks. They can have designs in them or little logos, whatever. They just have to be black ankle socks. So there's an interesting twist to this that you haven't caught on to yet, but I'm going to let the whole world know. So they had the socks, and I said, here's the problem with that. The problem with that is we're going to get those confused with my socks, and I'm going to, whose drawer are they going to go in? His drawer, he's going to be putting on my socks, which don't fit. Clearly, he's 9. And I'm going to try to put on his socks, and it's not going to work, and I'm going to get frustrated. Fine. That's not the F word I used. But fine. Let's go. Right? Fine it. That's what I said. Fine it. Let's go. I didn't say fine it. Mm-hmm. Let's go. Let's just go. But I'm telling you, there won't be an issue. His is a different size. Everything's going to be fine. Fine it. Let's go. We were in a hurry. So, nevertheless, we're getting ready for our day. A week later, we're getting ready for our day. I'm frustrated in the morning because I don't know where things are. I don't know. And the last piece of, I'm already frustrated. I'm hot. I'm bothered. Last piece of me getting myself together is getting a pair of socks. I grabbed a pair of socks. I tried to put them on. They were freaking Cameron's. I threw them across the room. I told you this was going to happen. I came downstairs. I was in an irritable mood. I was upset. I put Cameron's socks on. I told you that I had an issue with those socks, and I didn't want this to happen. If you would have listened to me in the store, this wouldn't have happened right now. I wouldn't be going through this a week later. I let it go, fine.
Sounded like she let it go, didn't it?
Just the other day, it happened again. I put on his socks. I threw it across the room. I'm pissed. Come downstairs, had a horrible day. So then, a couple weekends ago, when I'm running around and I'm in the kitchen and I have a pair of boots on or something, he says, what do you need? I said, I really need to take these boots off and get a pair of socks on. So he runs upstairs in my drawer, grabs me a pair of socks, comes downstairs. I try to put them on. They're freaking Cameron socks.
And what else did I bring?
And you brought a pair of your socks.
Because I don't mind you wearing my socks.
Right.
I actually like it. But
so
okay.
I tried to put the socks on, first pair. I look at you with this look like, Cameron socks. They're Cameron socks. If you would have listened fully in the first place at the store, none of this would have happened. Then he tried to hand me his socks, and I'm not wearing his socks. So, done deal. So then, this is where it gets twisted. It's almost fun. It's the cutest thing. He goes to the store just last weekend, and he comes home, and he's got me 2 packs of socks, right? I even took a picture of them. I was so excited he got the socks. Super stoked. And it's so funny because we were in class, in coaching cert class, and was telling the coaches in training this, and we were talking, and I showed him the socks. One of you, and I don't know who it is, but I commend you for saying it's hilarious. Hilarious. Well, they weren't all black. Some of them were blue, some of them were pink.
Mm-hmm. I did that on purpose.
And I was laughing inside. I was dying inside. Because I didn't care, because I can distinguish mine from, Cameron's because you know what I mean. They were the same type of socks. I didn't care about that. That's fine. But it was funny that she brought that up, and I was dying inside. I was laughing, but I was like, for like 2 seconds, did you really listen?
Yes.
But it was funny because I had posted it to somebody. She's like, "Oh man, he listened, and he did listen. He finally got it. That
I got it.
that there was a problem with those socks." And if you would have listened in the first place, none of this other shit behind it would have happened. And so what I was thinking in my mind, and it's not just a sock incident. Obviously, it's like 3 or 4, 5, 6, 7, who knows how many other little incidences. And I tried to explain to him, when I say something and there's an issue with something, it's because I've probably been through this or I've done this before, and it's a valid concern. Now, listening to me is important. When I say there's an issue with that because this is going to happen and I don't want that to happen, it'll be fine, right? Which told me he didn't hear me when we was at the store. But after telling the story and talking and getting through that, he realized that I think it was the sock thing that really, really, really got it to the point where you just weren't, like, you were hearing me, but you weren't listening to the point of listening. And then, we had that conflict, and then there was a breakthrough of something that happened. But I'm the type of person where I want to come back and say, "See, I told you so. I told you so." And I don't want to be that. I don't want to be that person. I don't want to have that energy. I don't want to be that. And so it's like now I'll say, "I need you to listen because there's going to be an issue here." Even a small little issue as I'm going to put on Cameron socks. But and it seems like now you get it. There's something that clicks. And it probably is shit. I don't want the conflict that's going to come after this. If it does well, wait a minute. What if I do get that paint and it does turn green and she says, "No, I don't want that." No, I'm good. We'll get the white paint, right? It comes to a point though where there just is a point where you figure it out.
There comes a point where you realize that some of the pain that you experienced when you told yourself you felt empty is actually more permission to be empty. And when it wasn't that I didn't figure it out. It was like, so we know how many pairs of socks you should have. And it was like, okay, so where are your socks? See, nobody ever thought to ask that. So I just literally just took the blunt of all of it and decided that it was my fault. Nobody cared where her socks went. So I was like, I'm going to get her some socks. At this point, what difference is it going to make? But I was like, if I get her socks and she can see that they're all different, she will know who's taking her socks. It wasn't me. So, long story short.
I catch my kids with bloody pair of socks on. Let me tell you. If you're watching, you know who you are.
So, it's almost as though we are together a lot. In worst case scenario, if I didn't get you the socks, we'd still be going through this. As you can see, there's a lot of emotional energy attached to it. just a little. And I remain empty when it comes to the socks. I remain empty when it comes to a lot of different things. But I've also realized that it's cleansing to realize when I've made a huge, huge mistake and hurt, if I've hurt you or hurt anybody, I'm literally going to go through, why did I do that? Why am I doing this? What is it that I'm not doing to correct this? And then realize that I have to just be empty. Because you can always start from scratch. You can't start over. You just start from scratch. Right? Mm-hmm. Well, hopefully you got something out of the whole sock fiasco. I wish I had a sock puppet now with one of her socks.
Hopefully you have socks. Yeah. I have socks.
Be empty.
Put socks on your feet.
Yeah.
Keep them warm.
We'll see you guys soon.